Robin Salo is considered one of the Islanders' top prospects, but how soon will he be ready for full-time duty in the NHL? Plus, trade rumors continue to swirl around Anthony Beauvillier. We have the latest on this and a whole lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Gil Martin, glad to be with you. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. And today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Want to wish everyone a belated Happy Father's Day and a belated Happy Juneteenth. Hope it was a good weekend and a good holiday for all involved. We have got a lot to discuss on today's show, but first, if you've got something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to talk about on the show, feel free to send us an email. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we talk about whatever it is that's on your mind. You could also follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYR, We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings throughout this busy offseason, including previews of the draft, trade rumors, and of course, NHL free agency, all of which is coming in just a few weeks. So make sure you stay with us for all the Islanders news between now and the start of training camp in September. One thing we want to start with today, defenseman Robin Salo. And, we're going player by player throughout the Islanders roster right now. And Salo, considered one of the better prospects on the Islanders. He's not that young anymore. He's 23 years old. He'll be 24 a couple of days after next season starts, which season's going to start October 11th, according to Commissioner Gary Bettman, who delivered his State of the League address. Robin Salo will turn 24 on October 13th. And the Finnish native, former second-round pick of the Islanders back in 2017, made his first appearance in an NHL game this year, played 21 games for the Isles, scored his first goal, had 5 points, 4 penalty minutes, and was a -6. 2 of his 4 assists this year did come when the Islanders had the man advantage. And, you look at what Salo can do, and here to me is one of the important facets. The Islanders, we've talked about this throughout the year on the podcast, struggling without Nick Leddy, without Devon Taves, because they only had one defenseman out of their top 6 who was a puck-moving defenseman, who was good at skating the puck out, or who was even very good at making that outlet pass to really transition quickly and effectively from defense to offense. Robin Salo's skill set meets that criteria. He can be a solid offensive defenseman. There's no doubt about that. He's not bad defensively, although he is still learning that aspect of the game. His -6 plus minus, a little bit indicative of that. And the fact that in 21 games, he had only 7 hits. I think that is, again, indicative of the lack of physicality to his game. And again, that's never going to be the biggest part of Robin Salo's game, but he's not a small guy. He's 6'2", about 195 pounds. And he probably, can bulk up a little bit more, not a lot, but maybe a little more you do need to see a little bit more defensively from him. What he does without the puck is really the thing that is going to keep him from taking that next step to being an Islander full-time. And I'll say this, the change in coaches from Barry Trotz to Lane Lambert, Robin Salo, his path to full-time NHL duty possibly got a little bit faster than it would have been had Barry Trotz remained coach of the Islanders. 24 shots on goal, a hair more than one shot per game, although 43 shots attempted in 21 games. So it's 2 shots attempted per game, 1 shot on goal per game, essentially, for Salo. He's a good passer. He certainly, when you give him that little bit of extra time and space on the power play, he can deliver that for you. And I think Salo is at the point where you really are ready to see more from him in the very near future. And look, he also played 40 games for Bridgeport during the regular season, and he had 4 goals and 20 points in those 40 games, was a +1 plus-minus. Add a goal and 2 points in 6 playoff games. And here's the thing. This year was Salo's first season in North America. So, you know, he's played in Sweden. He's played in Finland. He's a Finnish native. Getting used to North America, certainly this year was sort of that testing ground for him. And now it's time, folks. It is time to see more of Robin Salo. I get the feeling, depending on who the Islanders pick up this offseason and who they trade away or do not bring back this offseason, Robin Salo probably going to be a third pair defenseman for the Islanders this coming year. And if not this coming year, it's got to be the following season. If he has even a decent training camp, Salo should make the Islanders' final roster. And if he doesn't, at least become a contributor before this coming season is over. I think that'll be a big disappointment at the age of 24 for the Islanders organization and for Salo. He really does fit the mold of what this team is trying to accomplish. And now it's up to Robin Salo to go out there and get the job done and show that he's ready, willing, and able to take that next step. So kind of a crossroads for Robin Salo. If he does well this year, then his progression is as hoped for, and he becomes a steady contributor to the Islanders. If not, he starts to become one of those prospects who's stopping to be considered a prospect. He starts to be one of those mid-20s guys who maybe is going to be a career AHLer but not quite make the NHL. Because last year was his first year in North America, I give him maybe one more season to make the full adjustment, but we're getting close to the time where at 24, when the season starts, Robin Salo should start to be a contributor to the Islanders at the NHL level. So we'll keep an eye on that, but it's a pivotal season, to say the least, for Robin Salo, and hopefully he cashes in this year and becomes a bigger participant on this roster. We've got a lot more to get to on today's show. Trade rumors swirling around Anthony Beauvillier and a French-Canadian goalie who played with the Islanders in the late 2000s. He is our Islanders' birthday of the day. So all that and more still to come on today's episode. Today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including the Stanley Cup Finals and Major League Baseball, And BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. We have an important favor to ask you. We've put together a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and what you don't like about Locked On Podcasts. So go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everyone that completes a survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. So to take our audience survey, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey, and thanks for your help. So over the weekend, some interesting news coming out, and to me, kind of interesting to hear about this. Reports that Anthony Beauvillier, Islanders forward, according to Frank Saravelli, who has been covering the league for quite some time, Beauvillier's name popped up on a few teams' radars in the last week or two. He said that on a website called The Daily Faceoff, and he placed him 15th on the trade target board for that website. And look, let's get serious here. Beauvillier is a prime candidate for the Islanders to trade this particular offseason. And why? Well, he has value, but he's also the kind of guy who could probably benefit from a change of scenery. Here he is, Beauvillier, now 25 years old. His birthday was earlier this month. And you look at his numbers, his best seasons. Well, look, 2020, 2021, he only played 47 games in the COVID-shortened season, 15 goals, 28 points. You extrapolate that to an 82-game season, and you're talking about somebody who probably has close to 50 points in a season. This past year, he regressed. He played 75 games, which is 28 more games than he did a year ago, had 3 fewer goals, and only 6 more points. His plus minus went from a plus 15 to a minus 10. And 5 of his 12 goals came on the power play. Even though he was struggling, he continued to get a lot of power play time. One of the issues with Beauvillier, his shooting percentage almost cut in half from 2020, 2021, the last year. Went from a 13.8 to a 7.8. And that 7.8 is the lowest shooting percentage of his career. You got to figure that Beauvillier should have a bounce-back season. Now, if you're the Islanders, do you gamble on the fact that Beauvillier's offensive numbers will improve because he'll probably be freer at least under Lane Lambert than he was under Barry Trotz, where defense first was the key? And look, Beauvillier's only 20-goal season in the NHL came the year before Trotz arrived. He had 21 goals in 71 games back in 2017, 2018. Or do you say, because he's young and he still has value as a trade candidate and potential, that, you put a number 1 pick or an Atu Ratte and a Beauvillier as part of a deal, you can bring in that puck-moving defenseman or that goal-scoring forward that the Islanders have been craving so badly. I think if you look up and down this roster, guys like Beauvillier and possibly Josh Bailey are 2 of the established Islanders who are most likely to be candidates for trades. Again, we don't know for sure, but the fact that these rumors are out there makes sense. Now, one thing about Beauvillier, he's got something that the Islanders do lack up and down their roster, and that's speed. There aren't a lot of players on this current roster who can keep up with Matthew Barzal when Barzy is doing his skating thing. Beauvillier is one of them, and the two of them have played together in the past as line mates. So again, I think it largely depends on what you have to give up and what you get back as to whether or not Lou Lamoriello should make that move and consider trading Beauvillier. But no surprise here that other teams are reportedly interested in Beau. And, you know, Lamoriello said this offseason he expects to make a hockey trade. Well, that hockey trade very well could involve Anthony Beauvillier. And to me, Beauvillier may very well benefit from a change in scenery. He is probably capable, if he stays healthy, over an 82-game season of giving you 50 to 55 points, maybe 20 goals and 30 assists, give or take a couple in either direction. I could see that. He can give you the speed. And the thing about Beauvillier, when he's on his game, in addition to the speed, he's a good forechecker. He hustles. And, you know, he's not the kind of guy who's going to necessarily make the players around him better, but he is the kind of guy that good players around him can make him better. To me, Beau is, if he reaches his full potential, probably a second line forward, more likely a third line forward. But right now, the Islanders need to find a way to either maximize Beauvillier's value with the team or maximize the value they'll get if they trade for him. And Lou Lamoriello has a tough decision to make with regard to that. In my opinion, the Islanders are probably better off trading Beauvillier, because I'll say this: if Beau has another season similar to this past one, where he's averaging less than a point every other game, then the value that they would have to trade him would go down significantly. If they trade him now, they're probably going to get more for him at the age of 25, coming off one disappointing season, than they would at the age of 26, coming off two disappointing seasons. But we'll see what Lou Lamoriello decides to do. It is, again, one of those important decisions he has to make this offseason, and the Islanders' future will, to a large extent, depend on it. We have got a lot more to come on today's episode. We will talk about our Islanders' birthday of the day, a former goalie from Quebec who had one solid season with the Islanders back in 2008, 2009. That and a lot more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And we're a day early here, but Tuesday will be the 41st birthday of former Islanders goalie Jan Denis, the native of La Fontaine, Quebec, attended Brown University for 4 years, and then made his NHL debut in 2005-2006 with the Montreal Canadiens. Became an Islander in 2008-2009, one of the many seasons that Rick DiPietro was injured. And Denis, who was originally with Bridgeport that year, got the call-up, played 31 games with the Islanders that year, went 10-17-3, but considering the injuries and the struggles that team had, a 2.86 goals against average and a 910 save percentage for a goalie who, like Denis, relied on his reflexes and had to put up with a team that struggled in front of him. He actually played well for this Islanders team. After the Islanders went on to play for the Devils, went to the KHL, went back to the Oilers, and then finished his career with a second stint with the Devils and some time in the AHL. Overall, played 55 regular season games in the NHL, had 3 shutouts, a 2.79 goals against average for his career, and a 908 save percentage. So Denis put up, pretty solid numbers for a player who is essentially a journeyman goaltender. We're going to go back and look at one of Jan Denis' better games with the Islanders. February 21st, 2009 at the Nassau Coliseum. Bring on the Devils. Scott Clemenson, the goalie for New Jersey. Obviously, Jan Denis, the goalie for the Islanders. And in the first period, the crowd of 15,511 in their seats. Sean Bergenheim gives the Islanders a quick 1-0 lead, just 3 minutes and 50 seconds in. It was his 8th. Mark Streit with the assist. In the second period, John Sim makes it 2-0 Isles, an unassisted goal at 8:45, and the Isles had a 2-goal lead after 40 minutes. In the third, the Islanders' power play goes to work, and with David Clarkson off for a double minor for high sticking, Kyle Oposo scoring on the power play, his 12th from Blake Como and Franz Nielsen at 16:07. And then again on the same power play, because it was a double minor, Bill Guerin, his 16th from Franz Nielsen and Mark Streit. That made it 4-0 Islanders, and that was the final score. For Jan Denis, our Islanders' birthday of the day, 40 saves to earn the shutout. Islanders outshot 40-38. So this was a surprisingly wide open game, but Denis with some acrobatic saves in this game where the Devils just had a lot of opportunities. Zach Parise of the Islanders and Travis Zajac, who was an Islander a year ago, each led the Devils with 6 shots on goal. Brian Giunta added 5. But for the Islanders, because of the goaltending of Jan Denis, that was a win. Both Mark Streit and Franz Nielsen had a pair of assists for the Isles. But again, a very happy 41st birthday to Jan Denis, one day early. Jan Denis is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Some thoughts about Beauvillier and whether the Islanders should keep him or trade him. Love to hear what you think. Feel free to comment on YouTube if you're watching this there, or to send us an email or hit us up on Twitter. Should the Islanders consider trading Anthony Beauvillier, or do you think he's worth keeping and that he has a little bit more development in him and can become that offensive tool that the Islanders really are looking for? So let us know what you think about Beau. I think that right now is probably the best time to trade him if and only if you get the right package in return. Thanks again for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NHL. Locked On NHL covers the playoffs like no other. Hear the latest news and opinions from local experts every Monday through Friday. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. And I do host the Monday edition of the show and co-host the Friday edition of the show with Rachel Donner. So definitely please check it out. I'm sure you'll enjoy the podcast. That does it for today's episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.